For Off the Block, I'm Van Lopes, and we are now joined by UCLA men's volleyball head coach John Speraw, as we are a day away from the NCAA tournament first round, as his Bruins are going to be taking on Harvard. And, Coach, have to ask you, pretty unfamiliar opponent playing Harvard. I've only faced them one other time. That was last year. What's your thoughts on taking on the Crimson?
We're excited to be in the tournament and have an opportunity to play against them. You're right, I haven't seen very much of them, but we've had a chance over the last week to really study them. I've been pretty impressed. I know their overall record isn't great, but they've obviously dealt with some injuries through the course of the year. When they're healthy, they've been winning a lot and a deserved champion of the East. So I've been impressed with, obviously, their style of offense, because they're running a 6-2 like we did the last couple of years. And so we know how dynamic that offense can be, particularly in transition. And I think the guys seem to be passing the ball really well, and they do a good job of running a pretty diverse offense. So it's going to be a challenge for us. And, of course, the first time you get out there on the court at the championship, it's always a little nervous, and it's not always the most clean. And so we're going to have to go out there and take care of our own game.
Yeah, and I have to ask, even though you are technically playing on your home court, it is a championship match, do you think that the home court environment may ease any of those jitters?
Well, I certainly hope so. We're fortunate to be here. We've played well at home this year. Our home record has been good, and so I think the guys are sleeping in their own bed, and they're playing in the gym they're familiar with. So it's a little different look. We've got the sport court out there. Obviously, the crowd will be bigger, and the stakes are higher, and so it'll be a little different. But hopefully it helps us. I mean, it should. We've been good here.
Now, Coach, looking at the NCAA tournament the last couple of years with this new format of a bye week, we have seen at times some teams' offenses struggle out of the gate just because they're having the week off. Do you feel that may be a concern for your team in this match?
Oh, listen, in our sport, buys are a terrible idea. So I'm not much of a fan. In fact, I'm pretty excited that we have an opportunity to step out on the court and play in the play, and I think that's an advantage. So, yeah, I think everybody will be a little rusty. The bye week in concept, it was good for preparation. It's just usually not good for performance. So I'm expecting us not to be very clean and just have to go out there and make sure we get to the next point and understand we're going to get better the longer we play. But I'm quite pleased we're playing on a Tuesday.
Yeah. And, Coach, before I let you go, I do want to ask you about one or two individual players. First being Micah Maha. He's really, I know he was battling injuries last year, but he's really seemed to elevate his game this year. Can you just talk about what you've seen has been his biggest improvement from last year?
Well, he's got a new challenge. This is the first time in his life that he's set a 5-1, so that's definitely been a factor in his health. He hasn't had the need to go out there and take all those swings for us like he has the previous 2 years. And I think his development is really learning how to be a full-time 5-1 setter, and it's been a year of growth for him and understanding how to run an offense, how to lead. There's a lot of subtleties about playing that position, and now that he has to do it full-time and in some respects give up some level of control because he's not the guy hitting it. So there's some the mental aspects of the game he's had to learn and develop, but I think he's been just phenomenal. I think he's gotten a lot better over the course of the year. There's been a lot of fundamental work with him. I think he's made some significant improvements there. Obviously, in general, we've had to retool our whole offense. And so I still feel like today we have a practice and we got to go out there and get a little bit better because it's not very refined. I think we've got a lot of great athletes, but we still have a lot to improve on, and we're just hoping that we can get good enough just in time. But Mike has been a huge factor in that. I think he's done a great job as a setter.
Yeah, well, talking about some of the good athletes, got to ask you about Gemma in the middle. I want to ask, the offensive numbers that he's put up, can you recall, I know that UCLA has a storied history, but just any other UCLA middle who has been this dominant offensively as Gemma so early in his career?
I can't remember. I'd have to talk to Skates, and I think if you look back in the history books, you might find somebody, because the matches went longer in the regular score era, that maybe generated as many points per set, but I'd be pretty surprised. His production, when you really look at production, you're looking at points per set. So he's getting all of his kills and hitting for a super high percentage, but he blocks a lot of balls for us. He's our best blocker, and he scores a lot of aces. So his points per set is over 3. That's a phenomenal number for middle. Last year, I think he was the high guy in the MPSF, the old MPSF, with a little over 2. And Mitch Stahl was up there and Rakestraw was up there. Those are the top 3 middles last year. This year, he's over 3. So what he's doing is really significant historically. I think he has to be the most productive middle of the rally score era, and I think you'd have to go back through the books and see if you could make that statement that he'd be one of the most productive middles of all time.
Yeah. All right, Coach, and one final question here before we let you go. I know that your focus is on UCLA and your team this week, but you are also the U.S. coach. So I do have to ask, this season, what you've been able to see with TJ DeFalco. I know he spent the offseason playing with you guys in World League. Have you been impressed with the improvement in DeFalco's play?
Yeah, I have. I mean, I think he's done a great job. Listen, working with him last summer was a great experience, I think, for all of us. He's an incredible worker, so the fact that he's been putting in that kind of work ethic over the course of the year has certainly made him better. I've been impressed with a lot of guys that I've seen over the course of this season, and I think there's a number of players in the country that can come onto the national team, whether it's this summer or down the road, that can make an impact for us. So it is fun to be an NC2A coach because you get a little bit of a closer look at somebody when you're competing against them. But it's even better to get into the gym with them, especially after they've graduated. You don't have to play against them anymore. So I'm looking forward to that day with a few of these guys that we'll see this week.